The relationship between Impact Wrestling and AEW just hasn't worked. Currently, Kenny Omega is the AEW World Champion, the Impact World Champion, and the TNA World Champion after beating Rich Swann at Impact Rebellion. At no point was any of this mentioned on AEW programming. Rich Swann has not showed up yet, not before the pay-per-view or after the pay-per-view, to confront Kenny Omega and hype the match whatsoever, hype the pay-per-view, increase pay-per-view buys, at least try to. AEW is yet to acknowledge TNA Impact as a viable other company that they're actually working with. Very little superstars from AEW have actually gone to Impact and competed, and when they have, it hasn't been promoted on AEW television, at least not to the extent it should have, to actually drive those viewers, those million some odd viewers that AEW Dynamite gets, to go over to Impact Wrestling on Access TV and actually watch the show. The partnership is supposed to be beneficial to both. Now, Tony Khan has said that there's issues that he has to pay for his own advertisement on Impact, which is a ridiculous thing in and of itself. Impact should be bending over backwards to appease AEW because they have the much larger audience and the much larger footprint, even with the company being so much younger than Impact itself. I believe that Impact missed a big opportunity by not having Deonna Purrazzo, the Impact Knockouts champion, coming to AEW Dynamite to defend her title against the women in AEW. Similar to the way Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb have with the NWA Women's Championship. Could they do that in the future? Yes, but I think they missed the boat. I think they would have had a solid storyline in place if Deonna would have came over to AEW, had some matches there, got into some feuds with some of the larger superstar women in AEW, like Britt Baker, like Chris Statlander, like Penelope Ford, even against Hikaru Shida. Maybe a title versus title or champion versus champion, just a non-title match. I also think the Knockouts Tag Team Champion should have come over as well and had some matches on AEW television. The whole point is to showcase Impact Wrestling on AEW, because in the end, advertising on Impact about AEW and having AEW stars show up on Impact Wrestling is fine, and it's a mutual agreement that they have, but it's not driving a ton of fans over to the AEW product, being as AEW has a much larger fan base, much larger audience, and are obviously a bigger company than Impact Wrestling. So the heavy lifting needed to come from AEW. Now all they've had is the Good Brothers show up, and that's pretty much it. The fact that they haven't had Moose, Rich Swann come, not even after the fact, after Rich Swann lost at Rebellion, there was no highlight reel of the match, no clips, nothing whatsoever. Then you had Michael Nakazawa come out at the Blood and Guts event, AEW Dynamite Blood and Guts, with the Impact Championship around his shoulders instead of Kenny Omega. Bully Ray said something about this. I covered in a news video of mine. It's not the right look because perception is reality when it comes to that. If you have your AEW champion coming out, he has all these titles, they all end up looking like props because they're on the wrong guy, on Michael Nakazawa, and not him. He doesn't have to have all the belts on him because optically it doesn't really look great for production value, but at least have the AEW championship around your waist like he did, and at least one of the titles, the Impact titles, around your shoulder on a show that's going to have 1 million people watching. Now, if there's any issues that they have behind the scenes, money-wise, they can't come to agreements on promotion, on advertisements, that's a ridiculous thing. They should have had that all in place before having the partnership actually happen. Again, one of the main reasons this didn't start off on the right foot was because Kenny Omega won that AEW championship from Jon Moxley with the help of Don Callis, immediately continued to feud with Jon Moxley rather than have somebody from Impact come over and challenge him. The fact that they went with an AEW guy and Jon Moxley to occupy the guy who won the title, went to Impact, is in cahoots with Don Callis, an executive at Impact, and nobody from Impact ever do anything until eventually later on they just have a random match with Rich Swann. No build up on AEW whatsoever. They had some build up on Impact, but none of that was even shown on AEW Dynamite. So it's a big disaster. Now again, AEW is indifferent about it because they're not going to benefit that much from it. The only person that really benefits a ton is Kenny Omega, but it gives the show a jolt if you have that, even if it's not complete invasion angle, but you have that feeling to it. Gets people excited because it's something different, something cool people want to see, but they refuse to acknowledge it, other than having the Good Brothers there, because they're obviously boys with the Young Bucks, Kenny, and all those elite guys. So that's why they're always there, because they're always hanging out. It seems that they want to further AEW storylines rather than further AEW and Impact storylines at the same time. Again, if they can come to an agreement when it comes to advertisement, how much they have to pay and all that, I think would benefit, but I think it's too far gone now. I think they have just no choice whatsoever to go with a full-on invasion angle at this point to kind of revive the TNA, Impact, and AEW partnership, because it's been a disaster from the start. It was exciting. We were excited about it when we first saw it, and it really hasn't amounted to much of anything whatsoever. And I think it's disrespectful to Impact, disrespectful to Rich Swann of all people, because he should have been showcased. He was the head guy over there in Impact at the time. He was the Impact champion. He should have been showcased on a bigger scale. He should have shown up on AEW Dynamite. He still has the opportunity to, but I think they missed the boat on it. I think all the heat is gone at this point when it comes to him coming over and showing up on AEW Dynamite. If they don't do it within the next 2 weeks, it's completely dead. So this is why the partnership between AEW and Impact has not been working, because one side doesn't really care and the other side is kind of there, and they're not pushing to try to get more exposure and more eyeballs on the product. Because again, AEW is the bigger company, the more viewers, the bigger audience. They need to get those and siphon some of those to come over to watch Impact. So both in the end benefit, because again, AEW's roster is so huge, they can benefit from guys going over there and having matches on a nationally televised TV show that averages, 100 some odd thousand viewers. That could get more from the AEW partnership. But again, I harp on this all the time. The Impact AEW relationship hasn't worked out. It's not beneficial to either side at this point. In the end, when AEW just kind of leaves Impact by itself, who knows what's going to happen. And I do think that what will happen is that Impact will lose a lot of their guys when their contracts are up, and they'll move over to AEW, to greener pastures over there. They're missing a big opportunity with New Japan as well, not fully partnering up with any of those, because I think that would jolt the entire product itself. That's the video I got for you guys today. That's why the Impact and AEW relationship isn't working. Remember to drop a like on this video, hit the chair in the corner before it hits you first, a sub to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.